Rhythm games can be a challenging genre to get into. With so much to learn and oftentimes not much guidance, many players become discouraged and unsure as to what they can do to improve themselves. Osu Mania is no exception to this rule, which is why the aim of this video is to help guide some newer players down the path to improvement. From my own personal experience, often when a newer player asks a more proficient player, "How should I improve?" or "What can I do to get better faster?" the most common response always seemed to be, "Just play more." While playing consistently and playing often are key components to developing your skills, there are certain things that can make Osu Mania better for you as a user. Some of the default settings for Osu Mania aren't exactly optimal for good gameplay. The first, and one of the most important settings to change, is to turn off BPM scroll. BPM scroll uses a beat map's BPM to determine the speed at which the notes come down. Turning this off will make the scroll speed consistent, which is usually more comfortable to play with. Following this, turn off remember scroll speed per beat map. Turning this off makes the scroll speed consistent between all beat maps, rather than having specific speeds assigned to each. The next setting that you'll want to change is turning on score meter. To do this, click the drop-down menu labeled Score Meter Type. You'll want to change this to be Hit Error. The Hit Error bar is a very useful tool that tells you how early or how late you're hitting the notes, allowing you to adjust your tapping accordingly while playing a beat map. This next setting depends entirely on preference. Background dim is a setting that determines how visible a beat map's background is during play. Personally, I'd recommend having the background completely dimmed, as I find that it makes it easier to read the notes, especially on a higher scroll speed. Speaking of scroll speed, adjusting how fast the notes move can drastically influence how well you're able to perform on any given map. Currently, I play on 35 scroll speed. However, I'd recommend starting at around 25 and adjusting it to either be faster or slower based on your preference. Another easy change that can be made is what skin you use. Different players prefer different skins for all kinds of reasons, but in the end, it all comes down to what works best for you. There are three main types of skins, which include bars, which can be similar to the default skin, as well as games like DJ Max and O2 Jam. Bar skins are usually good for reading. Arrows, which are common in games like Step Mania or Friday Night Funkin', have the benefit of using different shapes for each column, which can help with identifying and reading patterns. And circles, which are usually easier to see than bars, but in turn take up more space on the playfield. Each skin type provides their own benefits, as well as their own flaws. Personally, I use arrows, however I do on occasion like to use some circle skins. You can find skins through various websites and by searching YouTube for Osu Mania skins. I've linked some videos showcasing various skins, as well as a trusted skin website in the video description. There aren't many objective points to bring up about maps, as everyone enjoys different types. One thing that most players agree on is that converted maps are awful to play. Converted maps are Osu standard maps that are auto-converted to generate map sets for the other modes based on the beat maps for the standard Osu game mode. The main issue with these maps is that they can have awkward patterns that aren't enjoyable to play. They weren't designed for Osu Mania, which is evident to anyone who's ever played any converted map. In terms of general map advice, I'd recommend playing a variety of maps to build a diverse skill set as you progress. Push yourself to improve, but don't try to play maps that are too far out of your skill range. Avoid playing maps that you find yourself mashing through, and aim to get at least 90% on every map that you play. Being able to achieve at least an A rank on a map demonstrates that you can mostly read the patterns, but also that there is plenty of room for attainable improvement. Once you find yourself becoming more comfortable within that difficulty range, feel free to push yourself and find new maps that are more challenging. Personally, I wouldn't recommend playing only for performance points, because certain patterns and skill sets are more rewarding than others in that regard. Playing only for performance points will lead to you falling behind on other skill sets, which can be very demotivating. I'm not saying that you should never try to improve your global rank. It can absolutely be a great validating motivator, but don't revolve your entire reason to play around it. Although at the end of the day, the only person who should decide your reason to play is you. Hand positioning is key to being able to do precise, faster inputs. There are two common types of hand positioning when playing on a keyboard. Wrist down is a playstyle that is very similar to how most people would type, with the wrists planted on their desk. Wrist down is beneficial for one-handed trill patterns, and involves less movement overall. However, jacks tend to be more difficult to perform consistently. Wrist up is a playstyle that involves hovering your wrists above your desk. This playstyle is typically better for speed, as well as allowing you to have more variety in your tapping style, although it does have a bit of a learning curve and requires more effort to perform overall. Retry spamming maps is another common mistake that players make. Not playing the full map means that you won't improve at the entire map as a whole. Just because you messed up on one section doesn't mean that you should retry immediately after that part. Also, constantly hitting the retry button over and over again can lead to mind block, which is a state of mind that can drastically hinder your performance. Players experiencing mind block can become unable to hit patterns that would otherwise be easy for them, creating a mental barrier between you and a good score. There isn't much that can be done to overcome that barrier at that time, other than playing different maps and coming back to it at a later point in time. A common question that new players ask me is where they should be looking in terms of the playfield. It's best to try and look at the center of the playfield while also ideally keeping your head and eyes level with your monitor, as it makes reading and reacting to the notes easier while also being ergonomic, which can reduce strain on your back, neck, and shoulders. Don't worry about constantly improving. Everyone plateaus for a period of time. It's a barrier that you will eventually push through as long as you keep playing. At the end of the day, Osu Mania is just a game, and shouldn't be taken too seriously. Play the game at your own pace and for your own enjoyment. Maybe, after playing for some time, you'll find your own place within the Osu community, whether that'll be as a casual player, mapper, content creator, or even a tournament player. Everyone has a place in this community, and I hope to see it flourish as time progresses. If anyone you know is considering getting into Osu Mania, maybe send this video to them. It might offer them some guidance in the early stages of their career. Also, I'm trying to grow as a content creator for Osu Mania, and I'd like to eventually branch out and explore other rhythm games too. If you enjoy the content or anything in this video helps you, I would greatly appreciate if you subscribed.